Welcome to part 6 of Who the Did I Marry? I left off with Melissa moving out. At this point, I think things are going to improve because she always talked so highly about being these great, amazing co-parents. I mean, in my head, I'm like, maybe she's a shitty person, but I do think she's a good parent. That's what I thought, and that does change. The first thing that happens is we're in litigation and we're asking for all this documentation from her and her lawyer, and they are dragging. I'm talking 3, 6, 8 weeks, just simple stuff. And they're just not answering. And she's also not helpful if I go to her and say, hey, can you contact your lawyer? Let's get this done. Let's get this signed. Let's be divorced. Let's have everything squared away. I'm not trying to drag this out. This costs money. And me and you both know that she likes to waste my money. So honestly, looking back, is it that shocking? Not really. Anywho, around the October-November time frame, I started getting these messages from her saying, I'm just having a really tough time, and maybe you and your partner can just keep him. Or, hey, would you guys be willing to move to California if I got a job? She was playing this oh, I'm really cool with the fact that you and Ashley are dating, and I want us to all be this big happy family. And honestly, it was just more alarming than anything, because it's if you can't take care of them, I will absolutely, by all means, take care of them. Early December, she started sending messages because at this point my lawyer has finally let her know hey, there's a lot of money that Brittany is owed. And I think Melissa thought that she was going to be able to get something from me, but that wasn't the case. So she came to me and she was like, if you do this to me, if you go after this, then I'm not going to have anything and I'm going to really be struggling. So if you could just get off of it, because if not, I'm going to have to let you keep our son for this duration of time, and I'll come back for him. Now, that is not the way it works with kids. You don't just get to go away and then come back when it's convenient for you. Being a parent is doing that shit through the good times and the bad, not just when it's convenient. But me being stupid, I'm cool, whatever gets this done. If getting them little points from you is going to cause you all this, whatever, I don't really care, if we're being honest. Sign the papers, leave me alone. You know what time it is, my interactive board. At this point now, in mid-December, I find out that Melissa is dating a girl named Taurus, okay? I find out about Taurus through social media, and it was 2 particular things that stood out. One of the things is they were in the tattoo shop, and Melissa was getting Taurus's name, and Taurus was getting Melissa's name. Sounds familiar. Then there was a particular video where Taurus was calling Melissa her credit card. Now, mind you, me and Melissa just had this conversation about how she was struggling so much and needed all of this help and for me to back off and all this stuff, right? So it's okay, I see now that was, you just trying to play me per usual. So I send Melissa a message and I'm listen, bro, you clearly ain't got no money issues. You clearly got everything going right. So sign the papers. You got a girlfriend, and sign the papers. Why are you still trying to do this back and forth with me? Cause it's just not necessary. So January comes and I start noticing that my son was having some transition issues, and then also that he was using mommy out of context. And like I said, I'm pretty good about noticing something and saying something. So I went to Melissa and I was like, hey, I know you have a girlfriend. I know my son is probably around her. So a couple of things. First off, can I meet her? Because I think as a mom, everybody wants to meet the person that's around their child, just so everybody's on the same page. I also asked, hey, what is our son calling her? And they proceeded to tell me that they call her a nickname. And I do want to say, prior to any of this, I continuously would ask Melissa if Taurus was living over there. She was like, nah, she not living here. If I have any house changes, I'll let you know. And I'm okay. Now, mind you, we knew something was up, me and my girlfriend, because my son, normally, his nails won't be cut, his ears won't be clean, his hair would just be whatever. He comes to the house one day, bro. Hair braided to the back, ears squeaky clean, nails cut. I'm like, oop, somebody cooked in here. So I'm not mad at it. But once again, I go to them and say, hey, like, I think that it's beneficial for me to meet your partner. Now, mind you, she's met Ashley multiple times, and not to mention also tried to fight her one time, but we won't get into that. Or maybe I will, but we'll see. Now, on the back end, I also noticed on like pickups and drop-offs or parent-teacher conferences that Melissa was starting to look very non-girl. Was starting to just like, the voice was deep. Like, I noticed like some little chicken scratch on their face, and I was like, oh, okay, like something going on. So I asked, hey, I don't want to be offensive, but like, are you transitioning? And they would always tell me no. I'd ask this question probably every other week because I knew, I'm not stupid. Like, I see it. Like, it's dead ass in my face. Like, why would you just lie blatantly like that? Not to mention would constantly be like, oh, our son accidentally called me daddy today. LOL, LOL, LOL. And I'm like, okay, well, corrected. And I would ask them again, like, are you changing your pronouns? Like, are you letting him call you that? Are you correcting him? So on and so forth, because it seems really odd because we don't have that problem over here. So early or like mid-February, Melissa comes to me and says, my pronouns are now he and him, so respect that, so on and so forth. So I'm like, okay, good for you. Are you going to change your name or what my son calls you? Because we had a specific name that he called her. Nope, everything's the same. I'll let you know if there's any changes. Don't worry about it. It's just he, him at this point. Okay. So I go pick up my son after spring break. So you're talking like 12 days later, maybe. And I pick him up and he says, bye, daddy. Like, because at this point, Melissa is still outside putting him in a car. So my son was like, bye, daddy. And I was like, no. Like, I corrected him with the name that he had normally been called. Listen, I am in no way, shape, or form a judgmental individual, but I feel like if that's something that you're going to do, you discuss it with the person that you're co-parenting with. It is a really odd situation to say that within 2 weeks, you've gone from a term that my son has known forever to daddy, like specifically daddy. It just felt odd to me, but maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. At this point, they still won't sign the papers. They're now he, him, still no name change. So they're Melissa to me. And around the just bunches of issues, at this point, I know Taurus lives there, so on and so forth. Won't let me meet her, same old, same old. Around the May time frame, they finally tell me that their name is going to be Melvin. And then they also proceed to show me photos of their top surgery. So they were already getting their gender affirming surgeries, which, interesting enough, the gender affirming surgery happened between the 12 days and my son calling them daddy. So very fast transition, if you will. So I want to bring my board back out so we can understand. At this point, Melissa is now Melvin, he, him pronouns, and their girlfriend is Taurus. It's around the July 2024 timeframe, and they still won't sign the papers. They still keep dragging things out. And I keep asking God, like, bro, like, why won't you just let this hoe sign the papers? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Taurus, Melvin's girlfriend, ends up calling me. I know you guys are wanting part 7, and it's Saturday, and I'm super busy. And I promise you, I will do my best. But I did want to give a little bit of information so that way when part 7 comes out, you guys kind of have an understanding of like where we are with this whole thing. So Ashley is my girlfriend, and at the time, Ashley was divorcing Caroline. And Ashley and Caroline do have a kid, so it was not just divorce, it was also custody. Now, I just want to say that Ashley was willing to give Caroline everything. She wasn't trying to do the back and forth. She was ready to sign the papers. She was just doing everything she could to just remain a good parent and to just be done with the drama, because Ashley's just not really the type of person to like feed into stuff like this. Even with all of that, Caroline was stalking us. I ended up finding out a lot of information when they were going through their divorce, because you have to turn in documentation to each other, where Caroline and Kathy had been stalking me from day one. Now, mind you, at this point, we still don't know that Caroline and Kathy were talking to Melissa / Melvin. Okay, I need my board right now. I'm so sorry. But it was crazy. I'm talking following us to the house. I'm talking showing up to my house unannounced. She was taking pictures of my outfits, putting them in Google, finding the cost, and then going to Ashley and say, give me the money. She was calling me every name in the book, doing whatever she could to make it difficult. Just constant egging on for still. And I want to be clear, and I want to say this quote, and I want you guys to understand it for what it is. It is impossible to co-parent with someone that hates you more than they love their kids. And that is the description of the type of stuff that we're dealing with. People are bitter, and what they're willing to do to achieve being evil is insane to me. But anywho, stay tuned because it gets really good, and I am hoping to have part 7 uploaded today, and I do think I'll be going live tonight to answer some questions about part 1 through whatever I have out at the time, so hopefully 7. But I just want to thank you guys for holding on. I don't mean to drag the story out. I just work. I'm a mom. I have to do my day-to-day, and I am not used to uploading videos. I'm not good at it, so I'm doing the best that I can. So, welcome to part 7 of Who the Did I Marry? Tired edition. Okay, we left off with Taurus calling me. I want to bring up the board for a second. For clarification, Melissa is now Melvin. Melvin dates Taurus, and now Taurus is calling me, okay? So at this point, I said call, but she DM'd me on TikTok, okay? So she DMs me and she goes, I just want to apologize because I was around your son and I should have done more to try and meet you. And, you know, every time I tried to meet you, like I even tried to Zoom call you, they would tell me that you were going to find me and beat me up and throw acid in my face and try and kill me and all this stuff. Like, was basically scaring Taurus. Melvin was scaring Taurus so that Taurus would never come to me. Because Melvin knows that I am Melvin's worst fear. I am the truth. I am willing to expose Melvin. So Melvin painted this picture for Taurus so that Taurus would stay away from me. But Taurus didn't, and she came to me after her and Melvin broke up, because when you start piecing all this shit together, you realize that Melvin is a fucking liar. We continue to DM, and she tells me how, Taurus tells me how she seen my Twitter. So prior to these TikToks, I would subliminally tweet about my situation to just kind of give like a pre-warning to people, like, hey, be careful. And I had tweeted something about being the third wife. I tweeted something about this person scamming me. And Taurus told me that she actually saw those tweets and started doing her own research. And Melvin had never told Taurus that he had been married. Taurus knew that me and Melvin had been married, but had no idea about the other 2 wives that he was married to. At this point, we're talking back and forth, and she basically was like, oh, you know, I did want to really give you a warning. And the warning is that Melvin, Caroline, and Kathy have been stalking you for over a year. With receipts, by the way. Taurus is not just telling me this stuff and not giving receipts. When I tell you she was getting down with the receipts, she was getting down with the receipts. Kathy, Caroline, and Melvin were swapping pictures of our children. They were talking about our whereabouts, where we are, what our schedules are. Oh, how can we make this difficult? If we change this schedule, then Ashley and Brittany won't be able to do this at the same time. Like, they were doing this for over a year. And it made me realize that this duration of my super long divorce was not just purely based out of like this one person being stupid. This is a group of people. This is a group of people. I realized in this conversation with Taurus that I don't know Melvin. And imagine being in a relationship with somebody and not knowing them, but imagine having a kid with somebody and not knowing who they are. I throughout this whole entire situation. That is the time frame that I was like, this is not a fucking game anymore. And these people are dangerous. They're dangerous people. I could go days for what Taurus told me, but I'm gonna stick to the script, right? After talking for a few days in TikTok, I think we were just building that trust. We exchanged numbers. And this is where the part of the story gets like really hard for me. Earlier in the story, I told you all that my son, there were time frames where I noticed that he was having transitional issues, and I would oftentimes go to Melvin and say, hey, son's not sleeping good. Like, what's the routine over there? Are you having these issues? Because like I am sort of a hoverer as a mom, but I'm very specific about making sure that he's okay. And I asked, hey, does he have a bed? Yes, he has a bed. Does he have a room? Yes, he has a room. Does he have this? Yes, he has this. He has that. He has this. Making it seem like it's perfect over there. So I'm like, cool. I only need to just address what I have going on here. Taurus also lets me know that on the very first day that she ever met my son, Melvin made my son call her mommy. So from day one, my son never knew her name. She was mommy. Something told me to ask Taurus a question. And I said, hey, you were around my son. I want you to tell me a little bit about what that was. And, does my son have a room? Does my son have a bed? What's the situation over there? And she said, I was hoping you didn't ask me that. As a parent, I would sleep on the cold, hard floor if that meant that my child got somewhere to sleep. I would eat nothing if it meant that my child got to eat. The stuff that Taurus told me and the pictures that she showed me broke me. It broke me. Because I had trusted Melvin to be at least a good parent. I don't give a shit about how you treat me. But how you treat my child, I will never, ever forgive Melvin for that. Ever. She also told me about how on my son's birthday that Melvin couldn't even be bothered to get my child a gift. Couldn't even be bothered to get my child a cake. And when Taurus second guessed him on it, he iced her out all day, ignored her, forgetting, because she went and got him a gift. She went and got him a cake. She made sure his nails was clipped. She made sure that his hair was done. Taurus was taking care of my kid. And she knows that I am forever thankful, because at least I knew then that he was being taken care of. Taurus also lets me know that Melvin doesn't just have one job now. He has two, because he has to afford his lawyer and he has to afford his gender affirming surgeries. So the time frames that Melvin did have my son, he was gone. He was working his job to pay for, to be a man. So after this, I called my lawyer. And funny enough, my lawyer goes, oh, hey, I was just about to call you because Melvin is ready to sign. Whole year. And all of a sudden, Melvin's ready to sign, right? Because Melvin knew, right? Melvin knew that Taurus had called me at this point, right? So I tell my lawyer, no, I'm not signing. I'm taking them to court. She was like, what's going on? I sent her everything. I told her everything. She looked at the documents and the pictures I sent her and she said, okay, we're going to court. I said, yes, we are. She said, if you could get Taurus to testify, your case will be very strong. And I said, okay. So I called Taurus and I said, listen, you've already given me more information and done more for me than I could ever ask, will you be willing to testify with me in court? Taurus said, yeah. So I get off the phone with Taurus and I call my lawyer. I let my lawyer know she's willing. My lawyer said, all right, I'm gonna send this message to Melvin's lawyer. Melvin's lawyer immediately calls my lawyer and says, what's going on? Like, why are y'all going to court? Because, you know, in his head, he's like, I'm just a lawyer and I'm just trying to get this paperwork signed. So to me, it sounds like he knows it was being dragged out. So the simple fact that now I'm ready to go to court, the lawyer's confused. So Melvin's lawyer is confused. Shocker. And my lawyer tells him, you know, this is what happened. And I'll put it this way, Melvin came to court with no lawyer. So at this point, Melvin is now aware that I am taking him to court and that I'm not signing. Melvin is now aware that his ex-girlfriend Taurus is now testifying on my behalf. So at this point, rats are starting to scramble. Who the F did I marry? And no, this isn't an episode, but I wanted to give you guys an update. Since doing this series, I have heard from numerous amounts of women that have dated Melissa/Melvin. In this update, I'm going to be referring to Melissa as she, since at this point, a lot of the women that I've talked to have talked to Melissa as a she. First off, I talked to the second ex-wife, the one that I talked about in part 1 and part 2. Melissa had said that she married that ex-wife because the ex-wife needed insurance, right? The ex-wife has clarified that she did not, in fact, even have Melissa's insurance, and that's a fucking lie. And basically, they got married under the assumption, like anything, that they were in a relationship, and Melissa kept pushing on the concept of having kids with the second ex-wife, and the second ex-wife did not want that. She said they didn't want it. They were vulnerable when they met her. They came down and moved in with her. Same story. Got engaged. Same story. Got married. Justice of the peace. Same story. Didn't change her last name. Same story. And then when Melissa realized that the second ex-wife wasn't going to give them kids, basically already started throwing her away. Basically, so Melissa's on the back end finding somebody else to talk to because now she can't get supply from the ex-wife. Y'all, guess who she finds to talk to? Me. So before the ex-wife later found out, after she found out about me later, that she was moving out of their house or still, like they were still breaking up when Melissa met me. And she had the same story as me, where it's like you met this person at your most vulnerable place and they just like lied this whole story up for you to feel comfortable, and then later on use that same story against you, make you feel like shit, put you down, make you feel like you can only be with them, don't talk to your friends, don't talk to your families, only love me, only care about me, but I only want you unless you're giving me something, and if you're not giving me something, I don't want you. Oh, and maybe that's just a coincidence. Nope. I obviously, you guys know, am good friends with Taurus, the ex from part 7, and same story. Moved her in, told her, hey, I'm still married, but, you know, I really want to be with you. We can get remarried. I'd like to have another kid. Are you willing to have a kid? And, like, you know, it went the way that it went. And then, obviously, you know, they're not together. And I can't tell you the rest without telling you everything else. But guess what? There's another pattern, because after Taurus, there's somebody else that's willing to catch the supply of this person. And what's crazy is, at this point, I'm doing my best to warn as many women as I can, and they have still managed to be with, I don't know, 4 to 5 people in between the when the divorce started and when the divorce ended. And not only that, a majority of these women were lied to about the fact that Melissa was transitioning. A lot of them said that Melissa was even on dating sites under the lesbian tab and then trying to make it seem like she was still a lesbian, but was on the back end transitioning, and would make all these comments about transition, and everyone's like, yeah, like, well, we like girls. And she'd be like, oh, you know, haha, just like gauging it. But she was transitioning and everybody, no one knew it. And the sad part of this story is the women that I talked to met my son. All of them met him. Like, it, you know, it's really sad. And like, obviously, like, I know it's upsetting. It's extremely upsetting to me. But not only did they meet them, they seen the living arrangements that I spoke very poorly on. They all were like, I did not fuck with it. It was not cool. They talked so they told me about how bad Melissa talked about me, not just like in front of them, talked down on me, made it seem like I was gonna kill them or I was crazy. I'm talking multiple different women. Multiple different women have met my son. And I know you guys have combed through social media. You're not going to find pictures of my son on the internet or anything like that. All these women talk to Melissa for I don't know how long, not very long, and then meet my child. Meet my child. And based on the synopsis, it seems like my child is the pawn to make people feel comfortable. Oh, look at me. I'm a parent. Look at me. I'm a parent. You can't do nothing but trust me because I'm a parent, right? Look how good of a parent I am. Look how good of a parent I am. Because Melissa's only a good parent if somebody's watching, right? Because that's what narcissists do. This is all for fucking show. All for fucking show. To sit here and not even care about what you do and how that affects your child, you don't give a fuck about him. And you don't give a fuck about these women. And I'm happy that these women are coming forward and telling their story. And honestly, I hope that more women continue to tell their story about Melissa/Melvin because it's not going to stop. He's not going to stop. He's not going to stop until he finds a supply. He's not going to stop until he finds another wife who's willing to have another kid who's not going to be strong enough to leave. Because let me tell you something. Every single woman that I've talked to, or just about all of them, we all ended up in this place of being so mentally unwell, so fucking, like, just really struggling to survive. And that person preyed on us. Bad. Bad. This is not a little game. This is not like some video or some fun story for clicks. This is people's real life. And, like, if you are dealing with the Melissa/Melvin or whatever, you need to protect yourself, watch for the signs, and do what you can. Please don't be like me and have a kid with a fucking narcissist. Please don't be like me. Welcome to part 8 of Who the Did I Marry? So I left off on the part that Melvin is now aware that they're going to court, and Melvin is now aware that Taurus is going to be testifying on my behalf. So of course, what does a narcissist do? He starts trying to make and do little things to try and scare everybody involved. So like I posted on the last video at the end, like a message where they're talking to Taurus's mom about like, how could she do this to me? Now I'll have to actually be a real parent. Like, that's crazy to me. And if you haven't seen it, please go look at it. It's ridiculous. So at this point, me and Taurus are building the case. Or I really don't have to build a case. I have a case. So really, she's just giving me as much info as she has. And let me tell you, it was crazy how much info she had. But like, I really wanted to focus on the transition thing because it was like just a lack of stability. And the thing that was crazy is like, even in the relationship with Taurus, I'm not going to transition. All I'm going to do is get top surgery. I don't want to transition. I don't want to be a she/her. And like within a week was like, just kidding. I'm gonna make the rest of my gender affirming care, schedule out. Like, just like overnight, like just like on some crazy shit. Like, it was just really weird because I'm trying to understand, like, why are you trying to hide your transition? If this is like your true self, why are you hiding it? And like, why are you being so secretive about it? No one cares about you transitioning. Everyone really just wonders why you can't be honest, why you gotta scam women and saying that you're not doing it when you are. Like, if you aren't comfortable with transitioning, like, maybe you don't actually want to, and maybe you're just doing it for the attention. I'm not sure. Who knows? I don't know. So we get to court, and of course, I am with Ashley, my girlfriend, and with Taurus, Melvin's ex-girlfriend, and they are there to, obviously, for support, but also to testify in the event that I need those people to testify. Cool. Y'all, imagine outfits. Melvin comes to court with Caroline by his side. Caroline is Ashley's ex-wife. I don't have my board, and I'm really sorry, but I want to get this done for you. So Melvin shows up with Caroline, and cool. We're in the courtroom. The divorce is agreed upon. Obviously, Melvin, who is representing themselves, is wanting to keep this, keep everything the same, and obviously I'm going in there vouching for something different. So obviously, everyone testifies. Taurus testifies. Even Caroline gets on the stand talking about absolutely nothing. So I don't really understand what their whole thing was, but like they did not come to court ready to fight. They came to court ready to try and prove a bunch of stuff that didn't matter. Like, this is not civil court. And what was focused on for some reason is the main focus in court was Melvin kept saying something about like, oh, well, I'm about to be fired from my job, and Taurus and Brittany have something to do with the fact that I'm getting fired from my job. Mind you, this case is about something completely separate. Everybody is confused. My lawyer's like, what is she talking about? The judge is like, what are you talking about? And she's basically like just keeps asking us, like, that's all she's worried about. She's not worried about my son. She's not worried about any of the other things we're in there for. Also, in court, they had said like, oh, like, I'm gonna have to move from the place that I'm currently living because my lease is up. And so, so everyone's like, okay, like, well, where's your new address? Oh, I don't have one yet. Okay, like, whatever. And, oh, okay, so it seems like you might lose your job. Like, do you have another job? Nope. Okay, cool. So court ends up, like, it was focused on so many other things other than what it needed to be. And I'm just happy, like, I had a good lawyer who, like, focused on what was important. So, boom, court goes as expected. The judge makes his judgment. And the next day, so we're good. We're happy. The next day, I'm out, and all of a sudden, I get a call like, yo, like, your ex is making and doing, like, some threatening stuff on TikTok. And I'm like, okay. So I get on there, and Melvin is in there talking about, oh, they got me fired from my job, and, whatever, and trust me, I'll figure it out, and, they have jobs, so I wonder what I'm going to do about that, so on and so forth. Now, mind you, I know a lot of y'all work. You can't just get fired from a job without cause. Like, whatever you did is simply your business, but, like, take accountability. Don't blame anybody for your demise. Then they were on there saying, oh, and the reason that I got the new schedule that I got is because they're transphobic. Court system is transphobic, you know what I mean? Like, that is why. And, like, mind you, anybody that's ever been in any type of court when it comes to their children, you not just losing time because the other person is like, you gotta have a reason. You gotta have a good reason. Now, at this point, we had already noticed some things, but Ashley's daughter, who is Caroline's daughter, ends up, she's older than my son, so she could talk a little bit better, and ends up telling us that, Melvin and Caroline are in a relationship, and that Melvin lives over there. Even to the point was calling Melvin daddy, like, bruh, wild. Now, what's crazy about this is this person, a mother, sits in court and sees the conditions that, and sees the testimony that we give, and also sees the testimony of the girlfriend, where she is saying, I do not trust this person around my child. I do think that they are not in a position to be a parent. They aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and they are unstable. Like, you're watching this as a person, and you're just going along with it because you guys probably have heard about this. Narcissists have these people that ride down for them called flying monkeys. Now, flying monkeys, because they hate you, they believe everything a narcissist says. It doesn't matter how bad it is or what this narcissist is doing to you, they're okay with it because they want to believe so badly that you're this awful, terrible person. So at this point, Melvin is living and presumably dating Caroline, my girlfriend's ex-wife. Now, honestly, good on you. But it just proves that the scam is still alive and well. But honestly, they've kind of found the perfect person to scam, right? Because this person hates me just as much as they do. So it's just like perfect, right? They could both sit there and talk shit, and like they're okay with their relationship being like that. And like I said before, good on you. But I do want to point something out that I think is crazy that anybody would be willing to allow. Anybody that knows who I'm talking about can confirm that this person, Melvin, who is black, has only ever dated white women, mixed women, Asian women, anybody that looks different than they do. Because honestly, there's a lot of self-hatred in there, right? Like, this person hates women, they hated being a woman, and they hate themselves. Melvin has found him a dark-skinned woman that has everything that he needs as far as resources. So guess what? On to a new scam. This is going to be the last video. Hopefully nothing else happens. But I want to say this. I am so happy that I've done this. Like, my moms out there who are dealing with a narcissistic co-parent, I commend you. Never stop fighting. Never stop trying. And if you see people with narcissistic qualities, call them out. Leave them. Go away. Leave them where the fuck they're at. Try to use your intuition. Friends, if you see people that are, all of a sudden your friends are disappearing and they're dating somebody weird, fucking say something. Don't leave them in the dark. Like, try your best and keep going for them. We need community with each other to stop things like this. Once again, I just have to thank you guys, because I was nervous that everyone was going to come at me and be like, how could you be so fucking stupid? But honestly, I have gotten so much grace from you guys, and that was a source of healing for me too, because I blame myself for being in this situation, and I sometimes forget that I was a victim in this situation, and I don't like calling myself a victim, but I was preyed upon, and I have to give myself grace. And I'm really thankful to everybody that's listened. Love you guys. If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman. During the divorce, they transitioned to a man, lost custody, and now they owe child support and live with my fiance's ex. That's a mouthful. If you haven't, I do have a story time that's like 1 through 8 with a few in between pieces in a playlist on top of my profile. But this is gonna be leaving off where that ended, which was around that February time frame, because a lot of stuff has changed. If you haven't watched the story, I'm gonna try and give as much background now, so that way you could just kind of jump in, because it is definitely it's crazy regardless. Okay, so by popular demand, I made a board. Throughout the story, I'll try to show the board. Take note, it is confusing, and this screen is inverted, so it's kind of hard. All right, so this is me. I have one kid. I was pregnant with donor sperm. I, at one point, was married to Melissa. Melissa transitioned to Melvin. We divorced. On this side, we have Ashley, my fiance. She has one kid with Caroline. Caroline being pregnant and using donor sperm. They are divorced. Okay, me and Ashley got together during the divorce. So that in itself was complicated. Okay. Down here, you see Melvin and Caroline, and you also see a little line that says Taurus. Taurus is important in the story. She was the ex-girlfriend who lived with Melvin during the front part of the divorce, and she has one kid with another parent, no relation in any way to Melvin. Neither is Caroline and Ashley's kid to Melvin. So Melvin and Caroline are now together. Okay, so this is the thing. Woo, sorry, that's a mouthful. Like I said, I'll refer to this as much as I can. So, basically, I'll start at, first off, this is a very long divorce. I tried to be civil in the beginning. I filed with no lawyer. You take yours, I take mine. We have 50-50 custody of the kid. They went and got a lawyer for whatever reason, so I went and got one too. So basically, back and forth, but I'm still ready to sign. Just sign the papers. Like, I'm not winning anything. I'm not getting any money. Like, just leave me alone. You owe me a ton of money. Like, I'm never going to get that. So whatever. Like, just sign the papers and let's move on. It backfired that they didn't sign the papers, because what happens is Melvin starts dating Taurus. Cool. basically, I guess Melvin ends up breaking up with Taurus or vice versa, and then Taurus moves out. Taurus calls me. Taurus calls me and says, I know that you don't know what's going on, and I want to talk to you about it. Taurus basically tells me, first off, you need to be careful of Caroline, because Caroline and Melvin have basically came together after they found out about you and Ashley, and basically have stalked you and are doing everything in their power to just be nasty. Because Ashley was going through a divorce too. So just stalling tactics, trying to get information, just everything. Because at some point, Melvin and me were still sharing a household. Okay. When Taurus tells me everything, it just absolutely breaks me. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to hear in my life and do in my life. So at this point, still no signed paper. So I called my lawyer and said, we're going to court. My lawyer was like, well, we need to get Taurus on the stand. If you're going to do that, Taurus agrees. Perfect. My angel. So end up going to court. They ended up getting standard possession, which is me as the primary parent and them getting their a couple weekends a month. And cool. So basically a week after, and they were also at that time, they were court ordered child support, because that's just what it is. So the next week they lose their job. So they should have started paying child support based on what the judge said. But of course, they refused to sign the paper. Why does Melvin refuse? He's refusing because he wants to change the schedule to Let me tell you why that's a problem and why, it was a back and forth situation. Because these two kids were on the same schedule. So they were both with me and Ashley. And we had a schedule that worked. Always was on this schedule. So these kids have bonded and have a relationship. But Melvin, which I think is strategic, refused to sign because now Melvin is trying really hard to split these kids. And Caroline tried to do that in the beginning too. So no one cares about these kids' mental and how frustrating that is and how confusing it is. So obviously I'm going to court because I'm like, this is messed up. You should not separate kids. They have a relationship. So boom, get to court. Honestly, my judge was over it. Was just like, listen, give Melvin the schedule they want. I don't care. Like, sometimes the court system is not gracious. Cool. I'm pissed. I'm livid because this is, once again, really tough on my child. Because let me be clear, my child was told to call Taurus mommy, was told to call, going on with Melvin being daddy, and now my son is calling Caroline mommy. So, and then you separate the kids. So now it's just this shitty situation. Boom. So they now from the time frame that the original divorce happened, like where they refused to sign, was from October to February. That means that during that time, the attorney general couldn't enforce child support because you have to upload your signed decree to do that. So basically this whole entire time frame, they don't even get any disciplinary action for not paying any money. So February, like I said, the court decides on Melvin's schedule, and I'm able to upload the paperwork to the Attorney General system to be able to start managing child support. Okay, so mind you, like I said, October to February, no child support. In December, basically, I don't know what happened and whether or not this was the time of some type of surgery, but this was the year that they get my son for Christmas. Okay? This whole entire time frame during Christmas, they were not allowing me to talk to my son. I didn't even get to talk to my son on Christmas, which is really hard for me. But based off of what the kid said, there was a huge surgical factor to this. Them going to visit Melvin in the hospital and Melvin having specific bandaging. Kids are going to tell it. So I'm a little frustrated because in my head, I'm like, if you did get a surgery, you didn't have a job, and you weren't paying child support, and then the audacity to not even let me speak to my child, now you're, once again, fucking with my child's mental, because now he's not speaking to his mother on Christmas. On Christmas. Like, I've never been away from my son. On Christmas? Come on. So, after that, what happens? So, during this whole entire time, Caroline is harassing Ashley. Basically, Caroline and Melvin have been harassing me and my fiance for this whole entire time. And to be fair, Caroline still does. During this time frame, Melvin, so basically right after they put, Taurus left the house, which was around that, like, July, August time frame, Melvin basically moved in with Caroline. And they were, like, kind of obvious about it, because they even showed up to court with Caroline. So they had just broken up with Taurus and then moved in with Caroline. So my child is going from calling Taurus mommy to calling Caroline mommy within a span of 2 months. Within a span of 2 months. And that's just the beginning of what I'm about to say.